Yes, here we go. It is the T.N.F. The night we hand over the keys to you. Get your talking points in. Use that wee hashtag T.N.F at the start of your question, as the banner says. As always on a Thursday, joined by the judge. What's happening, mate?
I'm very well, mate. Yourself? How's your week
All
been?
good. All good, mate. All good. Doing a wee bit of old driving and that, you know. Still trying to learn, mate. Oh, well, I'm sure I'll be passed by the time I'm 40.
Well,
That's the target. The
I'm
target was
past
this year,
40,
but I
so
think it's going to be 40, mate. Now, that's my target now.
I'm on the same pathway myself, mate. I'll get my theory
Uh,
next month, so hopefully not too long.
I am the same theory next. We're
But
growing up, mate.
anyway,
We're
I
growing up.
just can't be arsed with it, to be honest with you. So that's what's put me off all the years. But anyway, the bus keeps moving, doesn't it? Without drivers.
Well, yeah, I'm the only person in the drive who's got a bus, a bus license. So, what
Aye.
can I say? Right, remember, do all that good stuff. Give us a wee like, give us a hair, give us a share, buy some hair. Remember, hit the subscribe button if you've not already. And if you have hit the subscribe button, hit the bell and never miss a bus. And then it's piesports.com, bus 1888 at the checkout, tasty pastry treats and all that. You get 12.5% off if you use that code. And you can become a member, $1.99 a month. Does absolutely nothing. It just helps keep the wheels on the road and allows me to try and, you know, say a big thank you to all the sort of members once a month and all that carry on, the contributors, if you know what I mean. Anyway, right, we'll get stuck in. It was a big night last night. It was Club Brugge. It was a game that wasn't must win. It was, can we win? Are we feeling like we should be winning in the Champions League? It's been a long time since we went in confident of winning. Of course, in true Celtic style, you knew after 5 minutes it was going to be nothing as straightforward as what we maybe thought the past 7 to 10 days sort of leading up to it. But hey ho, it was one of those nights. I was in a more optimistic mood, Mark, in the sense that Celtic disappointing in the Champions League usually means a 3 or 4 goal hiding of some sort of deficit of some sort. And instead, we got a point. But we're now up to 8 points from 5, 2 wins, 2 draws, and a defeat. I think most of us would have probably took that at the start.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, when you do make a decent sort of fist of the competition early on, your expectations levels go higher. And I think there was, an overwhelming sort of feeling of disappointment, particularly at the display, if not so much the result. And I'm sure that'll be the most pressing topic of mind. I got a lot off my chest, obviously, with it last night, getting to do the PMP with Terry. Sort of summarise, Mark, where you're at with last night's sort of display, and of course what the outcome means.
Well, I think the display was a total letdown, to be honest with you. I think it was set up by the team selection. I think one was forced. I think Valle, it's clear to see he's not been getting minutes because of the situation with his contract or the situation with his club maybe wanting him back in January. I think there's certainly substance to those rumours. So kind of understand why Taylor started, although it got to the point where it was a here and now moment for Rodgers and he just wanted to get the points we needed and brought him on, and it changed the game to a certain extent. I thought the minute he came on, the minute the subs came on, I thought the game kind of got more balanced for Celtic, and we started to dictate as we should at home in Europe against opposition of that standard on paper at least. So and I think Engels starting. I mean, I think that's the last time you see that boy start a game this calendar year. To be honest with you, I don't think there's any doubt now that Rodgers has seen enough that Bernardo it should be starting. You know what I mean? And I think that's been evident for the last maybe 3, 4, 5 games maybe. In terms of the result, a draw at home isn't as bad as what it seems. I said for the start, the 4 games, if we get 7 points out of the 4 games, that is progression in the Champions League. We went for winning a match for like 10 years at home to won 3 out of the last 4. I mean, you can't argue with
Unbeaten
that.
them for, yeah.
Unbeaten 4. And the goal we did lose last night was an own goal, albeit I think if they were more composed in front of goal, be a bit more lucky with one of the shots and be a bit more lucky with the offside, it could have been a 3-4. It could have been Bhoycie, but it wasn't. Celtic still found it within themselves to bypass that stage of the game, control themselves, compose themselves, get back into the match and score. So the plaudits go to Celtic as much as it goes to Brugge for elements of last night's game. Carter Vickers' goal, you touched on it, Bhoycie. I don't think that's acceptable at any level of football. You do not pass inside the goal mouth. Blindsided, never do that. And I just don't understand why he did it. But he did it. I think he's got enough credit in the bank to get away with it. Although I think Liam Scales, I think there have been stewards guarding the pitch last night if Liam Scales did that. I think people will be convinced that he's the worst player on the planet. So we all know certain players have got a lot more on the bank and get away with stuff that other players won't, i.e. Hatate. For me, one of the worst performers in a Celtic shirt in the last 2 years. His last good form was under Ange Postecoglou, who was the Celtic manager 3 seasons ago. 3 seasons ago. Just think of that for a minute. His last form for Celtic was 3 seasons ago. He's a guy who has moments at Celtic, never good games, and very rarely good games, but he's full of moments. I don't care. And the criticism just seems to bypass him. He's got an invisibility shield. Nothing gets said about the guy, no matter what he does and what he doesn't do. I think Engels takes a lot of criticism last night. I think the price tag, people, I think it's a bit of a myth that people are mentioning the guy's price tag. I scroll through Twitter, you remember, but a troll. I do not see many folk mentioning Engels, his performance levels, and his price tag in the one sentence. I think the only people that are using the price tag to dictate their thinking is Celtic, and by that I mean I've got no doubt in my mind whatsoever that Rodgers has backed the horse. He's asked the board for a record transfer, and he's backing his man, and that is just natural for a man to do that in any football club. If you're over subscribing to the normal transfer fees, and you're not going to ditch a guy after 10 games. You're going to persist until it clicks. But I think it's got to the stage now where you owe it to your own intelligence to say this guy needs put back into the training ground and just wean back into the team again. I think as a starter, he's never near Celtic level. Yet, I think next season you'll see a different player with a full summer under Brendan Rodgers, a full season with Celtic standards. You're going to see a far better player. I think it's a brilliant player in there. You don't get to the level he's been at his age and Belgian caps at his age without having a level of ability within you. He's just not found it yet at Celtic, and just for what we've seen so far, we can only comment on that. There's no doubt in my mind he's a third choice at that position. I think McGowan and Bernardo get a game before him, just in my opinion. McGowan and Bernardo have impressed more with limited minutes than he has with 10 starts. I said last night on the pod chat, now, it may actually be 8 now, but that was his 7th game, Bhoycie. 7th game I've said, and others have said, he should come off at half time. You can go through a full football career and not get subbed off at half time. And after 10 starts, if you should be by the reckoning of Twitter and most people's thinking that you could come off at half time on 7 of those occasions, it's just no for you, mate. It's just no clicking. There's something missing in there. And I think now it's got to the stage now where if Rodgers didn't take this guy out of the equation, the split in the support is going to go that toxic that you're going to end up with another Palmer or another Mickey Johnson where fans are just going to turn against you and there's no coming back. I think for that guy's own career at Celtic and everything else that goes on about it, he needs to cut the limelight. He needs put back to the training ground and back to basics and what it's like to wear a heavy shirt that is the Celtic shirt. Because just now he's not performing at any level, Bhoycie.
Interesting points, because I know you're saying there, just for debating purposes, the price tag isn't coming into your mind, but
no.
If we're talking about on the back of last night, how come it's Ingles that takes up 80% of what's just been talked about and not Hatate then? Because last night for me, Hatate was the poorer performer of the two. And it's Ingles' place that needs to be taken out first and foremost. Or I was saying, the midfield 3 right now on merit for the next game should be Calmac, McCowan and Bernardo. Which is fine. But it still feels like the column inches there of your short opening monologue is still taken up by Ingles. There where he was in the part legs, he had less stray passes than Hatate. He never at any point looked like he was going to be responsible for giving away a goal, let alone set the tone. Hatate early on in the game, which Hatate was both those things. He set the tone early by giving the ball away with a stray ball and encouraged, therefore, that Club Brugge's press was working and they were capitalising on it. They were seeing chinks in the armour and it gave them a wee lift. That was an opening 5 minutes, I believe, when his first straight pass occurred. Then his next sort of glaring one, his next two, he gave the ball away once, gave it away about a minute later, and that led to, of course, the goal that was so narrowly offside. Not that anyone knew that at the time. These are the sort of, I think they were far more glaring than any error. I can think Engels was overly involved, which is a criticism, by the way.
Are we used to Hatate being so bad? Are we just getting used to Hatate being so bad that it's just become the norm?
Well, I don't know. I think he's eye catch. I think when you talk about the moments thing, it's an interesting comment, because when you think of it, maybe you're going to be more immune to criticism if you are laced with eye catching moments throughout. And I think there's also is an element of the credit in the bank thing, and I'm glad that you spoke about the CCV one, because the CCV one absolutely buys into that exact same notion where that mistake, just look at it on its merits, and he deserves all the criticism in the world, but it's CCV, and because the credit in the bank, he won't get it. Hatate's been there 3 years, given us loads of memorable moments. He has a really poor game. I bet Engels will take the flak, a 21-year-old who didn't decide his transfer fee, didn't make anywhere near as big of mistakes, and I think has an expectation level on him that is way beyond what actually £11 million in the current market gets you. Bear in mind, Tomoki Iwata right now plays alongside a £10 million summer signing this year at Birmingham City in League One in England.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that's what 10 million gets you, League One at Birmingham City, then
no, you're right. But I think the highest transfer before that guy was £3 million in that league. So that's probably, you're right to a certain extent, but it's not the norm for that level. That's over and above level.
Yeah, and it's over and above the SPFL as well.
Yeah, listen, no, totally. We discussed it the day when I phoned my dad and he talked about Flo, how Flo was such a flop. And I went, Dad, Flo wasn't a flop. His goals to games ratio was actually really good. He scored over 20 odd goals in his first season at Rangers. He's playing against a striker who was scoring 50 goals at Celtic and was part of a Rangers team that won nothing for 2 years. That's the perception gets worse when you're the big price tag on you, because it focuses on you. It focuses on you. My perception of this Engels is, my perception is, see if he cost £1 million for Rosenborg, he would not have been got to November and December nearly still getting a start for Celtic. There's no way. We've said long ago, get to fuck out of this first 11. You would be, Bhoycie. So I think Rodgers, and it's only natural, it's not criticism, it's only natural where he's backed his horse, and he has backed his horse, and he's backed his horse, and he's backed his horse because it's his horse. He went to the board and says, I want the next level of player. It's going to cost you more than you're comfortable spending. Maybe times 3 what you're comfortable spending. But I'm due it, and the fans are due it. They went, on you go. And it's almost like you're climbing off of the chair and climbing off the hill if you, after 4 or 5 games, say, oh, this is a bit too early for this guy. You know what I mean? And I think, and this is where Rodgers got to take a bit of responsibility too. And I think Rodgers will. I think I was shocked that he played this week against Hearts. I was flabbergasted that he played last night, but I'll be dumbfounded if he plays on Saturday. I really will. I think that was the straw that snapped the Campbell's legs and the back. I think we all knew that something he's done, and no just for the team. I think you got to protect the player, Bhoycie, because he is only 21-year-old. I think there's the moans and groans. It reminds me of when Palmer's on the ball. It's you can feel it in the stadium. You know what I mean? And as a fan, if you can feel it in the stadium, you can feel it on the park when you've got the ball at your feet and there's an anxiety and a tension on you. Then and it's no unfounded. I mean, let's be clear. The Celtic fans can be overreactive and reactive, but they don't just willy-nilly just think our players know at it. There's a slow progression between giving the guy a chance, seeing gaps in his ability, and then get to the stage where you go, okay, enough's enough. So all of these things need to come together. And I think for Engels, I definitely think we've got a player there, Bhoycie. So nobody take what I'm saying wrong. I just want to protect the boy. I think the boy needs protecting. I think Celtic need to give the players who are next in line who deserve a shot. You need to protect the players as well and give them a chance. But I think in terms of me, I do not look at that guy's price tag and form any opinion on that guy based on that price tag. Far from it. Far from it. As you mentioned, he's probably the least valued first 11 midfielder we've got in terms of transfer fee. That's got to be taken into consideration. But my point is, price tags should be always taken aside. If looking at ability-wise and how you've performed, like in any other walk of life, there's no way that boy deserves a team in that squad, a place in that squad above McCowan, who's impressed on every occasion, Bernardo, to my surprise, who's impressed on every occasion, Awata, who I think could easily go the Mora. I'm not interested in that boy anymore. And Carl McGregor, who's immune because he's a
Who's that
captain.
last one?
Hatati. The sooner he goes, the better, Bhoycie, because every month he plays towards his contract, the less money they're going to get on him. I think he chucked it a long time ago to Celtic. He's either looking for the World Cup pass or he's looking for a way out of Celtic. And either way, I'm happy for him to get it. But so I would drop Hatati and Engels, but it's not going to happen. We're not going to disrupt the full midfield as much as we should. So I just feel like the other two, McGowan and Bernardo, they come in and Engels goes back to Lennoxtown. That's just my opinion on the matter. And I think you might find Rodgers cleverly will shoehorn that in.
Yeah, potentially, definitely. And what sort of wide-ranging sort of thought, then I think this is where a lot of this stems from. I appreciate what you're saying. You're doing your level best not to be factoring the price, but we can't have it both ways. It's undeniably playing a part in a lot of people's thinking because we've just nailed the example there with last night that Tati's escaping a lot of criticism, and yet there is not one bit of me that thinks he played better than Engels did. Yet Engels, I knew, would be the most named player in the live chat, for example, today.
Yeah.
I knew it would be, and that has got to be fee related as well. So my wider ranging sort of point is this the type of thing that's put Celtic off making these big players because it does bring such attention to them, almost making it an impossible task because you're not going to fulfill, like you were saying about Flo, which is a brilliant example, far better than 1 and 2 strike rate he had at Rangers.
Aye.
Far better than one and 2. I think it was around 40 goals.
It was a really good record here, boys. I think it was like
right, but he was 12 million.
It's a best success just now, put that way.
Was he a flop then at any point, or
No.
is it genuinely against the fee? And I think it is against the fee.
I think the fee back then would probably tantamount to about £40 million now.
Which I get, and that's fair. That is fair. But in a league where the fees actually haven't evolved whatsoever, in fact, they've depreciated, Marc, since then.
Yeah.
So, my sticking point with it is Celtic, from just purely a Celtic point of view, if we now remove the Rangers flow stuff, right? You look at actually what Celtic have done over the last 20. They took 18 years to break their transfer record. Right? Now, see when we signed Sutton for £6 million, jaws were dropping, yes, but it's because it was Chris fucking Sutton. Because we're like, wow, that's a Premier League winner. He was 10 million quid to Chelsea the year before. He's been the top scorer in that league. Everyone remembers the Sutton Shearer partnership. 27 England international coming in. You're going, fucking hell. Nobody was thinking, we just spent £6 million. Do you know why? Because the record for that was only the year before. And it was Eyal Berkovic at 5.75. And Raphael Scheidt was bought in that year at £5 million, who was a flop, but not a flop because of his fee, because he was shite, right? But if you actually look at the gradual increase in what Celtic were spending, then it wasn't a million miles away from what we were doing. In fact, it was very close to the fees. Then we had been breaking our transfer record. It was slowly building. Then we put a stop on it. It's suddenly, I feel like the attention is then intensified massively on a player's transfer fee when it seems like such a big jump. Had Celtic consistently traded along with the eras that they've been in and let the market, and not, by the way, that was never going to become then 30, 40 million by this point, but their reluctance, and in fact their downsizing, which is a fact, what they did when Strachan came in, and have done really ever since, until maybe we're talking about the Ida, the Edward signing under Rodgers. Then they quickly backtracked on that the summer after, and it cost us the manager deciding he was fucking done. As far as I'm concerned, anyway. And then this summer we've seen 2 big fees, but they're so far removed, these fees, from what we're used to, that it draws a hell of a lot of attention. The Celtic board have created this perfect storm, and it's almost like, well, look, we've spent big money now, and look at them, the eyes on them, look at the pressure you put on them. None of them can actually make it because the sort of poison chalice it becomes to be Celtic's record transfer, because it seems so far and above what we've normally spent. And I think that's kind of a self-destructing thing that we've done in that regard. Whereas knowing in 2024, based on how Celtic's model worked before then, and this is after McCann saved the club, by the way, looking at signings made then, like Alan Stubbs, the highest ever fee paid for a British defender Celtic made. Then that was with Umbro kit deals and all this shit, and no Champions League money and all this, extras that we now get. We didn't have any of that, and yet we could afford to do it. I think Tommy Johnson was around £4 million. We could have made that up. That sounds good, so we'll go with it. Marc Viduka was doing about 4 million. Then you went up, as I say to you, 5.5 million for your Berkovic's, Raphael Scheidt. Then it was 5.75 for the likes of Lenny, 6 million for Hartson, 6 million Sutton. All of this seemed like it was going up on a steady gradient. Then it plateaued for 20 fucking years. So suddenly when we pick the ball back up and start paying what are record fees, we're expecting it to be record fees mean awesome first-team players, because that's what we're accustomed to before. But people need to forget the times have moved in those 20 years so much that firstly, our record fees are a huge jump to what we're used to at Celtic because of the plateau effect. Secondly, though, these fees don't bring in anything close to the level of quality that our previous record fees were more than likely to bring in, i.e. EPL, regular players coming in at the peak of their careers to play for Celtic. It's nothing like that now. And I wonder if they're going to use this summer's window or experiment this window as some sort of example to go, hey, look, we did what you guys, like those idiots in the bus wanted. We went big, eh? And you couldn't wait to shoot the player down. But I think they've let us get so far removed from reality in transfer terms that it's almost impossible now. A player comes in for an 8-figure sum. I can't even believe folk think 8-figure sum's a big deal in 2024 for a club like Celtic, who feature in the Champions League as often as they have over the last 20 years, when they weren't even willing to go over 6 million quid. It's fucking ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. And I do feel now we're in a position we're not used to it, and therefore the intensity in the eyes and the pressure that is put on someone like an Engels is unrealistic, unfair, and will be used against us as an example to justify not breaking transfer records in the future.
Well, I think even if this guy was £2 million, you'd be saying a £2 million could potentially wasted. You know what I mean? And so it does work on both ways. And the club have made this rod for the end back. I agree with you there, because if this was the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 8-figure sum player that we brought in, you would see it as maybe the norm, and you would kind of like be saying, "Oh, give the guy a chance," and all this. And I think the consensus is still this guy has got the touch and ability of a player who is above the normal player range that we bring in. I think there's a player there. I don't think anybody really is panicking in that regard. I dare say the club will have a surprised asset. The club will probably have updates on other assets after the management team, probably if not weekly, but monthly. You know what I mean? In terms of progression charts. So I think they'll be fine with things like that. It's just the here and now. I think it looks like he's maybe needing to cut the firing line, and there'll be a plan for that. I'm pretty sure there'll be a plan for that by the club, especially Rodgers. He's quite meticulous. You know what I mean? And I dare say, as I said, I think he's carried on for the wrong reasons, but. I dare see that this club, make no mistake about it, they see any bump on the road that they don't want is a reason not to go down that road. So, of course, the club would use this as an excuse not to. Like the Barcast deal, I've even heard fans saying, "Oh, that's what happens when you spend £5 million on a keeper." No, it's when you spend £5 million on the wrong keeper. That's what happens. Spend £4 million on the right keeper, and you get a bonus. Spend £5 million on the right keeper, you get an even better bonus. Spending good money and spending it wisely. That's what a Celtic fan. To be honest with you, see Celtic could get 11 players for 100 grand each and have this level of a team. Wouldn't bother me one jot. It only bothers me when we don't pass to the next level when we've got the money in the bank. You know what I mean? So in terms of that, I think I think the shows took a direction that probably didn't want to go in. But I think it's a fair point that the Tories are making. The money is considered part of this bigger picture with Engels. I think it's more the club's thinking than the fans, and you're kind of not the opposite view of it. But the fact that the money's getting mentioned probably tells you that it's still lingering in the air. The smell of that transfer. I don't care, boys. If it's they want to spend £20 million or more, it's not my money. Oh, it is my money and your money, but it's not coming out of my pocket. I'm happy for the club to do it if it means progression. So I'm not going to hold the club back. I can see the club, if deals like this continuously go wrong, just change direction on it. I don't think a club, I still think, I know we don't always seem like we've got a plan because sometimes we've no, but I don't think you change the structural strategy for a business, which it is nowadays, based on one good or bad signing, you know what I mean? Or one chunk of cash that goes in the wrong place, you know what I mean? I think there's more to it than that. But do that with this club, put it out to the media and out to their usual fan sites that this has put them off? Of course they fucking would. I don't think this is the case at this stage. I think we need to be getting to the stage where it's 2-3 years down the line, the guy's not kicked the ball yet before you start to write off his transfer fee. But all that aside, all that aside, if a guy came in and on a free for Stranraer, my opinion, the guy's contribution to the club will still be the exact same. Just now he hasn't just not got it. But in the future, with this manager, I think he will. But right now, I just don't want to see him in a select tap. Just now, boys. I'm getting frustrated by the boy. And I'd rather Celtic took him at the line and just pushed him to the side, give him a few weeks or a month or two away for first team football, away for first 11 football at least, and then get his way back into the team like £3 million Bernardo did.
Yep, £3 million Bernardo. Interesting turn of phrase there as well. I think the price tag is definitely infiltrating our thoughts, and I think the frustration that you get with Engels, I still think there's a deep-rooted thing about the price tag. Otherwise, the deep
Maybe there
frustration.
is.
I'm not actually trying to like. It's just an opinion, because I think it definitely it's in my head. I think it's in everyone's subconsciously.
The sniff is,
If I'm honest,
you can still smell it, can't you? It's still lingering in the air.
it's a great way of putting it.
Might not dictate mine and your view on it, but it's still in the air, boys.
It's got to be influencing it because Hatate should be the name I'm seeing all over the live chat right now. If a
Boys,
player's to be singled out for last night as a midfield display, how on earth is it Engels that we're talking about more than Hatate?
correct. McGregor.
I think that's what nails it for me.
How many times have you saw Callum McGregor in Europe put off that display, boys? It is 9 out of 10. McGregor gives you that display. 9 out of 10, right? And it does not get mentioned. The fact you have the same folk telling you that the night before the next European game, I'm expecting another masterclass off of Callum McGregor. What? You know what I mean? But some players just escape it. For me personally, I'm 3-4 years down the line telling folk how it is about Rio Hatate. Folk don't want to see it. Maybe it's just the new target for the likes of some people. Me personally, I don't think it's any news to anybody that Rio Hatate is shite. It's just no news to anybody because he has his shite.
He's shite.
He's shite. I'm sorry, he's shite. He's shite. If your Celtic career coming down to football, you played 3 years ago at Celtic, and the odd moments, then I think there's a few players at Celtic on the bench that probably get that in their CV.
Yeah, I mean, we'll wrap up on the Hatate Engels thing. Unless people have other comments they want to make on it, that's fine. We can bring it up. Remember, use the hashtag T.N.F. But to wrap up on it, I feel Hattati's a player right now that because he is still capable of these moments that you refer to, he gets that. But I think what will frustrate Rodgers, and I personally think it has frustrated him since day one. I think since pre-season last year when Rodgers was there, he just came in the door, and I think Hattati, does he play for the team? Is he a team player, or is Hattati? I thought Joe Hart comment last night when he says, he's always looking on the half turn. He said that within about 15 minutes of the game. I don't know if you were at the game or on
No, I
listening.
didn't go, mate. I didn't go to the
Did
game
you have
last
it on
night.
the you had the commentary then? So when
He was
Hart,
trying to say we all fought.
it was a needle. It was a wee bit of a dig as well. I had a wee bit of needle in it. I thought that's something that's been discussed in Joe's time at Celtic. You can't keep just taking the ball in the half turn like that. Yeah, it looks great when it comes off, but there's times and places.
A
So
YouTube player, Bhoycie. That's a YouTube player. That's somebody for his YouTube views. That's what that is. You know what I mean? Look at that.
and either way, it's self-indulgent and not
That is.
beneficial for the team. And if you remember, he tried to do something really flash on Rodgers' first return game in pre-season, like when he first came back. He tried to, and he gave the ball away, and the opposition scored. I don't know if you remember that.
What one? Kelsey Pre. That's
Aye, but
many occasions I've seen
it was
that.
Rodgers. It was Rodgers' first game, I'm sure, when he's came back for his second spell. So it was like a pre-season. It was a friendly.
All right,
And I thought
okay.
he ain't gonna fucking like that. He ain't gonna like that. And I do think at times if he's playing for the big magic moments and that, I get it to a point because he's capable of unlocking a door, or he's capable
Yeah.
of a world, and he did nearly score again last night. But as a team player, you're looking for more team players in there. We need to be united in the front. And like I said, just to sum up, I thought he was the purest midfielder at the three last night. Certainly not Ingles.
Obviously, the thing is, he's either a two or an 8, and you can't have that at Celtic. You need to be a consistent 7 or an 8 out of 10 every week to be somebody who's guaranteed a jersey. You have to be a 7 or an 8, and he's either a 2 or an 8. And I'm going to count in one hand his 8 performances, boys. I just can't think of the last bit of form that guy had. I think it was Angie's the end of Angie's first season or some of his second season, because he's not produced. If you're a Hattati fan, you can't say he's had a good season this season. And last season, it's fair to say that when he was playing, he was written off last year. It was not part of the immediate first 11. He was barely in the team because of injuries and the rest of it. So automatically you go to think of Angie's time at Celtic for his last form. And when you're going back 3 seasons ago, when do you owe it to yourself to have a bit of intelligence to say, if you can back 3 seasons ago, at what point does a bad game become 3 years ago? It's the guy who's no played football in a good way, an effective way for Celtic for about 3 seasons. And that's objectively. That's objectively. Because this season wasn't your last season for the reasons I just made. So it's good to have been Angie's last season at the very best.
Yeah, we will move on.
Sorry, but
From that, no, enjoy it. No,
just you were spotting about Hattati, boys, and he escapes so much criticism. I think it's about time folk opened their eyes to that guy.
well, definitely. Like I say, I'm trying to sort of highlight the fact that why is it, the poorest performer on the park didn't get and still isn't, the focal point in people's attention. Yeah, it's someone who didn't do half as bad, didn't have half as bad an evening as his, who is the focal point of it, who's 7, 8 years younger and still adapting to Celtic and things. The only thing I can think of is then it's the fee. But right, okay, we move on because there has been a few coming in. We'll just keep it on the same. Well, I say we move on. I didn't realize one of the hashtags comes up from Michelle. Nice one to have you on the bus. She's saying, do you think we should sell Hattati or sell Hattati on and get Lennon Miller in January? Sell Hattati or not, I think you get Lennon Miller in January. I don't think there's any two ways about it. If without being a big smart ass. If you remember in the summer, it was someone I said you go out and buy him, and he's your when I think the Luke McCowan links have begun with this when we first started discussing Lennon Miller. I says, look, Luke McCowan's one that can ready to come in the first team, doesn't need that bedding in period, and is of an age now. He's got enough games under his belt. He's had enough responsibility at Dundee as well as captain there that he won't be faced certainly in the domestic scene to do things for Celtic. As for Lennon Miller, if you don't think he's ready yet, sound. Sign him and loan him straight back to the club that he's excelling at and let that continue to progress, but make sure he's registered as a Celtic player. We didn't do that last summer. My hunch is, Marc, I'll throw about some random Bhoycie numbers just for the crack, and I'm going to say you'd have got him for £3 million in the summer. I think the fact he's captained them at Hampden already, they are now on a market and play with him, right now, where they are trying to highlight how good he is, and that's just good management from Motherwell. It's clever, and they are undeniably adding on dollar by dollar onto that fee with every coming day that passes, and every time Celtic now get linked, Rangers get linked too, and every time Celtic and Rangers get linked, there's now a club in England that are snuffing around as well. Whereas I think the opportunity, and it proves there was an opportunity in the summer because he fucking stayed at Motherwell. So if a player is still at Motherwell, that tells you Celtic, such is the nature of the beast, Celtic can sign that player or could have signed that player because he is still at Motherwell. What we'll find in January is we have to pay more. And then it will come back to fees, and it'll be, can Celtic afford to pay £5 million for a player and loan him back to his parent club? Or should a £5 million player not be ready for the first team? And all that opens up. Whereas I think on the back, in the same summer as you've got in a £9 million striker, an £11 midfielder, another midfielder in the form like McCowan, I think no one would have batted an eyelid at £3 million. Leonard Miller coming into the team, signing for Celtic, waving the scarf about, and then going straight back to Fir Park for a year. That was staring you in the face to do that. He's only becoming a better player. His reputation's only enhancing. Motherwell only now advertising him more and more to bump up said fee. So we're going to have to pay more. And the more we pay, the less chance we've got of what I think would have been an ideal road of development for him by continuing it at Motherwell for another season and a half, and just monitoring it with a recall option, of course, but just monitoring it that way. That's my take on that. Whether Attack stays or not in January, I'd be surprised if he went, because I don't think he's at the I think he's at his optimal sellability, if you like, for either Celtic or him right now. So, and I don't think he's someone, regardless, I know Mark's saying he's shite, I don't think he's someone that is at the Celtic will cut their losses on him stage, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I don't think he'll be viewed as that. What's your thoughts?
Well, you're right. I mean, in summertime, he was probably in the price bracket where you could afford to gamble. You know what I mean? And try and take a loss and sell him on if he became a dud. He's not at the valuation when you're talking 5-6 million, and they might end up the valuation where Scottish football teams are out the market, and he will end up in that
11 million?
Perhaps. Well, you look at Lewis Ferguson. He was very obtainable by Celtic and Rangers. He runs in his contract at Aberdeen, goes for whatever he goes for, goes to Serie A, and that boy's now in the £20 million bracket. We could have got him long ago for, I'm going to suggest, under 3-4 million, Bhoycie.
It was 3 to 4 million we could have got him for. I remember, just very quickly, Tony Haggett and me were on the Wee Fellas pod at the time, and we pitched the idea of Lewis Ferguson. Both of us in agreement. Utter pelters, mate, for it. Utter pelters for the idea.
Probably his background rather than the players, which
well, amazingly. But again, no, it's nothing to do with the background. It's because he's shite. It's because he's desperate. He's not going to help us. And this is when we were desperate for players, let alone good players. Desperate for players right now. This was Ange Postecoglou's sort of before he'd arrived. This is the summer where we had no fucking manager, and the scorn was Lewis Ferguson just wasn't up to it. But I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you. In the same way, I am convinced about £11 million playing tricks with your mind in the background. It is all about his background that Celtic fans are deciding that he's shite. He's just won the last season the award for the best foreign midfielder in Serie A.
Oh, he's brilliant. I think he's
the
captain.
Best foreign player in Serie A, mate. That's a fucking joke.
He's captain as well. I think he's a captain.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's club captain, but certainly on occasion he is. Anyway, definitely.
We'll put it this way. We don't walk into Serie A and start taking team captains or club captains out of the Serie A teams, especially performing at that level. and they're in Europe as well just now. They're in the Champions League.
Champions League they qualified for, mate. Largely, a huge part thanks to him. You're right.
So this is the things that you can. I mean, there's no doubt the boy's played 50 games and he's just turned 18. I think there's a talent there. I think there's sometimes you get players that come along every generation or so. Motherwell have won a watch with this boy because not only they'll sell him for a huge profit, but the sell on value will probably double that money again. So I think they've got a huge asset there. Celtic's opportunity is to buy him and cash in on that player and cash on that gravy train, because I think the boy is going to go somewhere. But I think, to be honest with you, as much as I think it should come in January, I think it might just be at the stage now where his representatives, etc., know that boy's going to be going places, and I don't think Scotland's where he's going to be going next. I think he could be going to Italy. I think Italy seems to be the place for the young Scottish talent just now. I think there's more than one or two out there, and I think Serie A seems to be suiting some of these players now. And it's a Serie A are now turning to places like Scotland because the bigger leagues become
because
snobs.
we're not.
They become snobs.
First and foremost, because we're fucking not, and that leaves this window open, mate.
And that's what I'm saying as well. Like, I think you can, if you leave it too long, as I said, at one point his valuation would have been the fling a dart at the board and see where it lands. The £2 million owes, and then if it doesn't work out, you'll recoup some of that money and cut your losses. But still, you start talking 4 or 5 millions. That's not the kind of players you can just gamble. And no, they can just gamble on at 18. So that boy's already past the gambling stage. But as far as I'm concerned, we should be getting him in. I would say previously loan them to Aberdeen, but I've turned on the bastards ever since the Israel flags and the Jimmy Savile songs at Hampden. I've turned on them. No, keep him at Motherwell. He's excelling under a good manager there. They're playing the right system. Whatever they're doing Monday to Friday is making that boy tick. So leave him where he is. Get him back to Motherwell. As you said, if we need him back in, put a clause in the contract to bring him back early. But he's only 18-year-old boy. I don't think an 18-year-old walks into a Celtic team unless there's something special. So there's no harm in bringing a boy in for pre-season, loan them back out again.
I wanted to do that. That's exactly the plan. But do that bold then. Because of everyone being asleep last summer, when everyone, if idiots like me can see that was a sign that just get it done. You get him in for that fee and you give him back to Motherwell. But see now, it's 5-6 million, mate. They will not. What?
Sorry, I was going to say, what could it? I think the summertime for Celtic there, it was like the full beam lights were on the Celtic board and what they were going to do next, and on every signing, and maybe it wasn't the right time for this club. It should have been the right time. I'm agreeing with you, boys. I'm just talking about the optics here.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And maybe the club, in terms of behind the scenes, were more focused on the here and now and flat and bringing in these players, the Ida arguments, the Engels to the last minute, the Bernardo negotiations, who's going to be the first team keeper, who's going to be in to help Rodgers. Now we've got that boy that was with him at Leicester. All this stuff is still up in the air until the last couple of weeks of the window. Maybe there was too much going on, but there should have been somebody looking within Scotland for the best of talent. I still think McGowan was in because something fell apart in the last day of the window. But for me, McGowan should be one of the first players in, to be honest with you, because he's proven it. But so there is maybe circumstances that dictated why Celtic never bought him in the summertime. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that missing it on that boy in the summertime was a gamble we didn't have to take, and we might have just missed the boat on this guy, which I hope no, but it looks like it could be the case, if I'm being totally honest with you.
I just love that you're not even aware of how much of an absolutely right it is, by the way, pop at the board you're having there, because they're incapable of multitasking.
Yeah.
Oh, there's full beams on us. We've got to go for ready-made players because there's people looking at what we're doing. Whereas a proactive board has all their ducks in a row and goes, who's the guys you want for the first team, Brendan? Who's the right? Okay, yeah. Let's go get his number one targets or try our fucking damnness to get them. Right, by the way, who's the best young player in the country? Right, let him. Right, no problem. We go get him as well. That's just. It's a big fucking window, mate. There's months to do this, and there's enough people in your ear, by the way, as well. If we can see it, with that Lennon Miller. If I can see the little amount I watch Motherwell, I went get him. Straight away, get him. He was 17 last year, and you could tell he plays with a real calmness on the ball, a sort of maturity that seems beyond his years. Like it's like the game's going a wee bit slower to him than what it would be to like to myself. I think it's going at a million miles an hour around you. Do you know what I mean? You'd be fucking first touch would be fucking rotten.
He's
Do you know
only
what I mean?
he's only eyes that every English scout that's scouting in that
Yep.
certain level of water will have their eyes on that boy. We've seen English commentators talking on podcasts about this boy. We've seen guys who down south mention this guy's name. He is on the vision, the periphery of clubs down south. And if we're hearing about the guy just now, you go back 12 months when it actually started. They don't watch that player for 2 or 3 weeks. They watch that player for a long, long time at that age group, Bhoycie. So the fact that we might have not been on that, that journey, and it makes it even worse if we were on that journey and never put a bid in for him, because that's even worse than thinking he was good enough because you're not noticing what's there in the first place.
It's unbelievable.
It is, Bhoycie, and it just shows you how bad it was. We were trying to juggle all these balls because the things we could have fixed a long, long time ago, we just choose not to fix. And then, signing first-team players and signing young up-and-coming, that's two different departments for me. And we should have, a club of our size should have the ability today to run both departments at the one time. If the two of them merge together, great. But surely we should have had enough wherewithal to do a bit of both. You know what I mean?
It's basics.
It's
fucking basics. Celtic signed the best young players in the country. The shining light. Who's the best player out with the Celtic and Rangers? Right, it's Luke McCowan. Right, go fucking get him. Don't bring him in the last day of the window to make you look like you're doing loads of business. Get him in as soon as you can because he was £1 million. He was affordable at any point. Who's the best youth product in the country? Right, it's Lennon Miller. No bother, sign him and get him back to Motherwell, but make sure he's registered a Celtic player because we're the big fucking sharks here. And that is what you look at, for example, a Man United in their pomp under Ferguson. Everything was about who's the best young player. If it was in the world, it was Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, at one point. Seen him play, fucking go get him. And it'll be the same summer they signed, I don't know who else, but there'd have been a £20 million player that Ferguson really wanted, who's signed as well as, and go invest £30 million in that young kid because we can't miss the boat here. Because if you miss the boat on guys like that, and they said apparently I was watching a pod with, I'm not saying it's Cristiano Ronaldo levels, by the way. I'm talking Celtic levels here. We're talking about the best youth player available to us. United's best youth player available to them is whoever the best in the world is right back then. Ours, though, certainly means the best youth player in Scotland is available to us. You've got to go get them. You've got to go get them. And I initially, incidentally, with that Ronaldo one, he was meant to go back to Sporting on loan. So it shows you can be doing two things at once when you're fully flowing. And then I think they played them in a preseason friendly, and at half time, it was like, fucking right, okay, he's coming up the road straight away. Do you know what I mean? And I get that. But I think
you can almost see a picture, boys, here where you can see the low-hanging fruit in Celtic storming with their back.
That phrase.
You can just see it, because I know we're going to be playing Aston Villa soon, so the John McGinn stuff's going to come up, right? That's going to come up whether you like it or not, right? But see John McGinn, then there's a Stephen Fletcher, then there's I'm probably just missing names because he's public with all, but
they're great examples.
We miss it constantly on the low-hanging fruit, and sometimes we get the odd gem, and I think sometimes we get lucky with the odd gem in Scotland. We buy them on the happy chance that they're good.
But you throw enough shite at a wall, something's going to stick. Do you know what I mean?
We've let go of some right good players. Boys, I still say if we sign Fletcher, we've got 4 in a row under Gordon Strachan. I still think that the John McGinn stuff was the first crack in the Celtic boardroom level / Brendan Rodgers relationship.
100%.
Which led to, I'm sorry to say, which led to us not getting 10 in a row, which led to the COVID, everything you name, the COVID pandemic. He didn't cause the pandemic. I know he was called a rat, but he wasn't a bat, fuck's sake. But you know what I mean? It led to that kind of.
Very good. That
was a bad year, boys. They forget the pandemic and people, getting hurted and injured and dying. But that pandemic, that was a Rangers are going through their COVID season just now. I think this is just a bit as close to how we were feeling that season. But all of that could have been avoided, I think, by buying the low hanging fruit as well. You know what I mean? And
It's important to do that. It's what big clubs do, mate. In all the leagues, the biggest clubs, they still, yes, they scour Europe, they scour all the continents now. You still fucking look within and go, I see the what we class as our, our third-rate neighbours will take your best player off you as well. And folk might not like that for the best of Scottish football, but I'm in the interest of the best for Celtic, and I think they missed a real trick there with
yeah,
Lennon Miller.
I
And I
think
think it'll be one that will come back to how could we compete with, let's say, for example, Bournemouth, because I always use Bournemouth as example. Phil will be pushing himself right now. But they've came in and offered them 30 grand a week. Yeah, but that's only because we missed them last summer. Because no one took
we
him
could go
last
for
summer.
5 grand a week
I
12
thought
months
he was.
ago.
Sorry?
We could go for 5 grand a week 12 months ago. We let it go that far.
Correct.
I'm just hoping, like every day I see in the skyline, I've told you before, this new training complex, and it's really impressive, Bhoycie, right? I just hope this is the beginning of something Celtic are taking seriously.
How are they going to hold on to them then?
Well, I think there's a boy in
These
the
are your
youth level.
examples as well. Ben
Of
Dokes
course,
of the world that are slipping through the net. That's the other side of it, Mark. Before
the one I'm going to give example just now, there's a boy in the B team, Cummings, I think his name is. He's scoring more
yes,
goals.
he's been mentioned in the live chat.
The boys, I think he was in the first team training recently. I think he was up at the first team, and I don't know if he's travelled with the squad yet. But it's funny because the B team rules state that you can't play more than 5 starters or 8 games for the first team, and then play B team football. So there is a wee reason why they don't bring him in straight away. But I think this boy's contract's due up as well, you know what I mean? And I don't think it'd be a bad thing to bring a boy in and start giving him some minutes. Fuck the B team, you know what I mean? If the B team's raison d'etre is to bring in players for the first team, well, if the B team needs to suffer so the first team can get a gem and keep the guy signed up to Celtic for another couple of years, then you do that, then the B team suffer. That's fine because the B team is, it isn't one horn washing the other. It's one horn is doing everything for the other, you know what I mean? And this is the way it's supposed to be. So bring him in. Don't stunt his progression, of course not. But you know, there's got to be a wee bit of carrot on the stick. I think that don't, for talk's sake, I think Liverpool, you don't knock back, but I think he was always going to go. I think his minutes against Rangers was supposed to be there. Look, this is what you could have at Celtic. And the guy was already going to go in the first place. But the one that annoyed me is the guys who went to Bayern Munich and the guys who went to LA Galaxy and fucking all these mad
That's
dark
right.
places.
Yeah, the Bayern Munich. Who was that? Morrison and
There's a boy, I think he's now playing part-time football in League Two or something in Scotland.
one came back to QPR. What the fuck am I talking?
Queen's Park.
Queen's Park.
Aye.
Not fucking QPR. Fucking hell.
He wishes it was QPR.
Aye.
There's a few of them boys saying Rogers said it perfectly. He rhymed off about 5-6 names. If you want to come in at 16-year-old with a Louis Vuitton bag and think you play for Celtic, you're at the wrong club. You're in the wrong stage of your life. If you want to come in, work hard and wait your chances. Look at Ralston, look at Carl McGregor, look at James Forrest, look at Kieran Tierney. and that's what happens when you bide your time, you perform well. Don't tell your agent you want to move the first opportunity you can get. And that's what happens. All these players, the only Robertson doesn't count because he was at Celtic for under 5s or something, so they don't count. Doak might be the only person in my lifetime, if even Doak does do it, he might do it.
Yeah, Doak. Yeah.
He's the only player in my lifetime that has left Celtic as a youth player and you go, oh fuck, we missed out on there. But even at that, he only played one game, boys. So you not missed anything really. But all these ones that fucked off, that Oko Flex and the rest of it, these guys have probably end up no getting a full football career out their time in football. They probably end up in the lower leagues by the time they're in their mid-20s. So we've not lost it. And, you know what I mean? These players are only going to, but the ones who have, there will be players who will make careers. Like Robertson, he was like under 7s or something like that. They don't count, you know what I mean? And Shea Given and all this, they don't count, Bhoycie. But the guys who've got the ability and bide their time, Rogers is right, they've all become Celtic players. So I don't think we've lost one player yet so far that has left the club and we've all moaned about it. Always another player left the club. None of them has done fuck all in football, boys. Let's be honest, you know what I mean? Maybe their ability was, maybe their CV was that at Celtic and they're excelling at that level. We'll take him. We've got 30 players that ability. If he's shite, it's fine. It's only costs us an apartment and £5 a week. We can afford that. These big clubs can afford that, boys. You know what I mean? And maybe it's a case of Celtic have maybe said to the players, and rightly at the time, you're nowhere near the level of playing for Celtic the first 11. Wait 3 years and you will be. And they've went, I'm not waiting 3 years. You know, that's probably been the case, boys.
Yep.
Maybe
Yep. No, I get you.
that's well, I think.
Moving on again, but I don't think a lot of good points that you've made there, Mark. Again, I think you're absolutely right. And I'm hoping, as you rightfully say, that there is a view that this training ground is going to represent more than just a better facility.
Yeah.
It's going to represent a change in attitude as well. Quinny comes into the chat. He's just giving the usual thumbs up, showing his support. I think, Mark, we should. Quinny's chomping at the bit to get a wee bit of Bhoycie Bus action again. I'm telling you right now, he's I don't know if you know who Quinn is. Seltzer here. He's one of the main. He's one of the main dogs on. One of the main dogs
how you doing, mate?
He'd be good fun for a T.N.F. one week if you'd be up for that.
If he's up for it, I get him.
I think Quinny would be up for that, mate. I think I'll drop you a wee. I'll slide into your DMs, Quinny. How about that, mate? And I'll see if you want to join me in the judge soon. But I hope you're well anyway, pal. Right, okay. A couple other ones to get through as well. And it's great to have you on the bus as well, JM. Always love your chat in the live chat. Doesn't usually, he minces words, shall we say? He says, right, spending more money on upgrading level of player isn't going to make a difference in the Champions League, in my opinion. Are we better off not qualifying Are we better off not qualifying next season and genuinely having a chance at and I'm guessing it says Europa League, it was meant to be. Now, Jim, I've got to be honest, just reading that for the first time, I just see the T.N.F. and start it. I hadn't actually read that. I mean, I think we can make, I think there is a difference in our chances in the Champions League. And this year's a case in point. And I think when you look at the teams involved, I want Celtic's name there. And I think surely, as a fan, you would rather well, I suppose here's the debate. Would you rather win? Or in fact, we're not going to win it. So let's get real. Would you rather make the semi-finals of the Europa League or the last 16 of the Champions League?
Me?
It's a tricky one, isn't it?
I would rather get a semi-final Europa League.
No, make a semi-final.
But I think it was spelled out to us just the other day there again by Lawwell, I think. He was just saying that the disparity between earnings for the Champions League and Europa League are the widest it's ever been. So if these new rules with financial fair play, your 3 year aggregates, if you want to keep players on 30 grand a week and bring in players at £7-8 million, you need that bigger income, Bhoycie. I mean,
we fucking knew that, Peter. We knew that, mate. We tried to tell you that for long enough. He waits till we actually get a couple of points in the Champions League. I chimes up all this. Our focus is all on the Champions League. Yada yada. Do you know what I love about that? Surely, if you're focused on the Champions League, you'd have noticed that the automatic qualification for winning the league this year's gone because you didn't have your eye on it the last couple of years. So see if you're actually fucking genuine and you're being honest there. That's not how it pans out at all. You take it more seriously. Last summer, you don't just sign loads of projects for a new manager to come in and try and navigate the Champions League with. You fucking give him some sort of tools, even if it's against the grain, because that coefficient points is on a knife edge and it might cost us the following year if we win the league not getting in, which is exactly what it's done. Now we've got that very difficult, nasty playoff route, and I don't look forward to that, mate. Next season, I know it's a long way away, but let's be honest, Mark. If we just quickly cut to domestic terms, I know you like all this. We've won that fucking league, right?
No, I can't say that, mate. You know me, mate. I look at the rain cloud.
Well, I couldn't resist. Seeing if he was gonna just go against the grain. Go, you're right. We've won the fucking league. Shit! Did I just say that?
Well, I know. Well, I tell you one thing's for sure. I mean, we've got a healthy gap, and I trust this setup and this team to get it out of the line. I mean, I'll never say it's over. I mean, there's a picture of me somewhere stoning on the scoreboard at Ibrox, and we went 5 points clear with 3 games to go and still lost the league. So I'm very thingy about saying things like that. But I'll tell you one thing's for sure, that I'm very confident, I'm very content in where we are. And you know something, I'm very content, not just because Celtic are so far above everybody else, which I think they are. It's how much the other teams are fucking up, i.e. Rangers. I mean, Aberdeen have even contrived to lose 5 points. And saying that, Aberdeen to only lose 7 points at this stage in the season is fucking phenomenal by any standards in Aberdeen teams. So do not forget the work they've put in. But this is when reality starts to kick in for these teams. You know what I mean? The points they get dropped very easily unless you've got a depth of squad that can handle losing one player and can handle playing 90 minutes against Rangers on a Wednesday night, and then got to Hampden on the Sunday afternoon and Saturday afternoon, and then going away Easter Road the following week. You need a certain level of mentality and ability to do these things, and it takes a long time to get that. And Aberdeen are even on the first lap of that process, boys. And I think they've found it kind of the hard way. But as I said, I was at Hampden 2 weeks ago. It was, and the bio that would come at the Aberdeen fans' faces and the Union flag.
Did you nearly say Ibrox there? Such was the bile.
Aye. But like, it just shows you that it's just because I have a tongue. It's like word association. You go Russian, you go spy. Take you. It's like word association. That's it. Even though it doesn't make any sense. As I say, anybody who was at that game at Hampden couldn't have any real love for Aberdeen anymore. If there was any love for them, I think they've turned into a kind of Hearts situation for me anyway. They were horrible cunts. So it's good to see. And
but I think domestically as well, there's going to be a twist in the plot. I think they've just, the third place team. I think they've just appointed the chief exec. And I think they're going to let it play out right now. They've got Spurs in the League Cup final. Then I think the new chief exec, I think he'll get punted, and they'll do what they do every before the turn of the year, and they'll point a new guy in when the league's gone, and they'll jump on the same cycle, but what they'll think is a brand new version of it. I wonder, and Phil alluded to it, and it's got me thinking. I can't stop. That if, as the twist I'm just coming to, would be that they go for the Aberdeen manager.
Telling not already? Oh God, that would go down like a ton of bricks, wouldn't it?
Mate, if
I just shout, by the way. So
they have not got the spondoolies to go for anyone that's either they've got to be unemployed or they've got to be from, and no offence Aberdeen, but since you've been rude to us and upset the judge, it'll need to be a manager from a provincial club. And a provincial club like you that could be afforded. And I wonder if it wouldn't surprise me, because especially as well, it would curry favour, mate, because he's someone who has instantly given a side an identity, and it's not just winning games is the byproduct of his identity working. But what the most impressive thing would be if you were a CEO, heaven forbid it was me and you, the joint chairmans, mate. But you'd be looking at a manager going, how the fuck's he managed to get them all to buy it, like, and make that team look completely fluid in a system implemented by him so quickly? And then you give him better tools, bigger stage, go do the same there. And that's clearly what he's done from the clubs he was in Sweden. It's Phil who started this fucking one, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, so don't blame me. But I think they'll get cuffed off Angie's Spurs. You don't want that happening to you if you were a new manager. So they'll let Clement take that hit. I think they'll get cuffed off us in the final. I know you're like, Jesus, did they say that, Bhoycie, when I'm on the show? But I think they will. Why would you want your new manager in that environment? I think you get those couple at the road and you go for your new guy.
That makes more sense, because
do you know what I mean?
They've not got that stigma attached to them. They've not been at the helm when this has happened. It makes
it's a shite start as well. You know, it's a tricky start with big storylines. a League Cup final against Celtic and Celtic's ex-manager spanking you at Ibrox. That would be...
That guy for
I, I,
Brugge, he looks good, didn't he? I mean, he was at
say that
Haverford
again?
West, the guy for Brugge.
He was in the Welsh Premier League
Well, see that
under a
place?
year
Me
ago.
my dad stayed there. My dad used to work in Haverford West, and the stadium is like picture 5-a-sides. It's like that. It's about a mile from my dad's digs, just outside Pembroke. It's a nice wee stadium, but it's like something you see maybe at Arthurlie, smaller than that. And he's new, but 6 months later, he's fucking managing. He's took a team like that to outplay Celtic at Celtic Park in the Champions League. He's beat Aston Villa. So these guys are out there, like these Tellins or Felons, whatever them is. These guys are out there. I think there's a new breed of manager coming through that we're seeing a lot of tactically aware managers who can stick to a system and just turn good players better. You know what I mean? We're seeing a lot of that. And that guy telling, I mean, that Aberdeen team isn't that much change for last season, by the way. Even the thing with Duke, that guy Duke didn't play for months, refused to come to training. He's come in without a whisper. That's new being put to bed. And
Brilliant management, that.
And that does take my point, because there's no murmurs about that guy now. He's come in. Nobody's complaining about him. There's nothing on the message boards about this guy. It's been forgot about the guy never turned up for months. That is good management. And that only happens when there's like kind of like calm waters at the club. He's obviously that club was in a bit of a state 6 months ago. He's levelled out a wee bit to the extent where fans are kind of forgiving that. You know what I mean? And he could come in and do that forgiveness and calming the waters at a club. But there's a stigma attached. If you're in driving the ship and Celtic are beating you at Hampden and you've ditched the league in December,
Well,
that stigma does stay there with you.
Look, as Michelle says, look, that's why the CEO position is a December 16th start date.
Is that right?
CEO, yeah.
No, surely not.
Yes. Facts.
So he's either going to come into a trophy and parade it with the fans and say, "Oh, come on in," or he's going to come in and say, "Oh, that's fuck all to do with me. I was at Asda."
And now,
You know what I mean?
and then I am the new CEO, and although Philip's done well, I want my guy.
Aye, well, this is true, mate.
That is so obvious. But it's been an interesting storyline, I think, domestically, Mark, there. And I'll go back to it, and I'll keep hammering the thing. Rangers end up shitter than what they were through, yes, their own incredible barking decisions. But never forget who's at the helm and the worst. Our manager's got a big part to play in the fact that Aberdeen become our biggest challengers when he is in town. And on that sweet note, I will leave you all this evening. Mark, can't thank you enough for coming on. Really appreciate it. A brilliant Thursday. Yeah. We'll see what Quinny's up to when we do a wee show next week around 6:30. It'll be next week.
I'm up for that, mate.
See if Quinny will come on. Maybe just go for an hour and a half or something like that. And then I know I'll be pushing it for your bedtime by then, mate. You know what I mean? 8 o'clock.
I've passed it by 14 minutes. But I'm going to tuck in the night, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, nice, mate. Nice. Right, okay.
I goes to bed.
Wondering where that was going there. Right, anyway, we'll see you all later. Thanks very much for joining the T.N.F. Oh, fireworks in the air. Love it, mate. I love it. Right, take it easy. See you all later. Cheers, Mark.